So take it all on the beach. And then Monday, when the hangover wears off, they have nothing but 6 boxes that they know nothing to do with. So my thoughts on the process are is I'm a walk before you run. So one thing at a time, because if I get overwhelmed, it's going to sit in the corner because I still have 100 case plans that need to be done and I still have to see 20 patients a day. So I try and approach this subject as a one thing at a time. We'll figure out one step before you add something else. We're going to talk a lot about money today because as denturists and dental people, period, we want to know how much stuff costs. We want to know how is it going to make us money and how much time it's going to take. So we're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about the actual process of digital from start to finish. We're going to break down scanners. We're going to break down printers. I'm going to show you some of the printers that we have and show you the mill a little bit, and we'll go from there. Anytime there's a question, please let me know. We are very informal here, as you can tell. All right, let's see if my clicker is working today. Oh, it's not going to work. Okay, we'll do it this way. No. Yours wouldn't work either. Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll just use the button. So yes, everything what I talked about, the purpose, how we're going to put digital equipment into your office without causing too much chaos. We'll discuss the difference between the intraoral and laboratory scanners. I had all intentions of having an intraoral scanner as well as a new face scanner here. But unfortunately, I was kind of the only one that was available today and all of the equipment is locked in a room, which I have no access to. So I'll show you on here the best I can. Most of you are here local in Toronto, so if there's ever anything that you want to see up close, call the office and let them know. We'd be more than happy to have you come in on a one-by-one basis and have a look around at all of our equipment. If it's something that you want to see, let us know. We're very open. This door is always open during the week because people come in here and do pickups. So if you ever want to see anything, like I know you want to see some teeth later, if we have the time, I'll let you know. But as soon as I'm done here, I have to catch a plane. But if we have time, I'll kind of sneak out and kind of show you a couple of teeth that you're looking at. If not, call the office Monday. Let them know that you're coming in, and they'll grab you some samples, and they'll meet you out here, and you can have a look at them. You can see them, touch them, feel them, all that fun stuff. All right. This I always like. It's a little bit cheesy, kind of like Mark and I. But your digital future is not as far away as you think it is. So I say, what factors, I'm going to ask you, what makes a clinic digital? Is it because a guy's got a printer? Is he digital? Because I don't have a printer, so I'm not digital. But really, my definition of that is something digital started a long time ago. So if you have a computer for booking patients in your office, you've already started. That's a digital piece of equipment. A debit and credit card machine. There's this really awesome guy in Newfoundland right now. I think he's the only person I know that doesn't take debit or credit card payments. He's still cash only. Also has a sign in his clinic that says, if you throw up, you clean up. So, I mean, that's true fact. Record keeping. Mark talks a lot about pictures. Pictures will save your behind in every circumstance. You take pictures of everything. I took an awesome dental photography course from a lady here. And she taught me that a long time ago, that pictures everything. His staining that he was demonstrating, the composite, the Bredent course, all of that is pictures. So if I have someone who I'm doing gingival toning and gingival staining on, I'm going to take those retractors, I'm going to put them in proper light, I'm going to take a picture of just their gingiva, and I'm going to hang it up on my desk. If I'm trying to recreate something, I'm going to do it that way. We know now more than ever that ethnic diversity in Canada is at an all-time high. Not everyone is Lucitone 199 shade. It just doesn't happen. Not everyone is Pro-Base original shade anymore. True story. I was working in Saskatchewan, and I had another denturist friend of mine that was like, I need help. I have a patient, and her gums are as brown as chocolate pudding. And he's like, what am I going to do? I put a 1-tooth partial in her, and she smiles, and it looks absolutely crazy. So we brought the staining kit out, and he showed up, and we added a few things on there to make it blend in a little better. So that's just something else that Mark didn't touch on there. Accounting and bookkeeping, simply accounting. Most of us used to use that to run our business. Something that makes it digital, reference pictures. I think the moment that a computer comes into your office, you are considered, in my opinion, you've already started the digital journey. 15 years ago, when I started practicing in small town Newfoundland, we didn't have computers. We wrote receipts out by hand. I'm 36. I'm not that old. So it was not that long ago that we were writing receipts out by hand. The gentleman that I talked about with no computer is still writing receipts out by hand. So the moment something electronic replaces something that you can previously do by hand is how I consider something being a digital clinic. First step always when you're starting digital is scanners. As we know, does anyone have a scanner? I know a couple of you guys over on this side. Who's got scanners? Got software? Oh, cool. The hands are coming up. Excellent. We have desktop scanners versus intraoral scanners.
Nobody.
I know. I tell you, now that we do that now, I always do that. I say, show of hands, who's got software, who's got this. Because in the beginning, it was like total crickets. But from my point of view, when you see a lot of hands shoot up, you get a little nervous because you're like, oh, great, these people probably know more than I do. So you have a couple desktop scanners. We have a couple of intraoral scanner. We are big partners with Shining 3D. It's an awesome company. Something else that I wanted to point out is like, I wanted to name this lecture, Digital Doesn't Have to Be Expensive Anymore, but Joe didn't like the title. So we decided to change it up a bit. But remember back in the day when DVD players came out and they were like $5,000? And now you could pick them up for like $20 at Walmart. Digital isn't there yet, but like some of the first printers were out were like $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. And now there are printers that are Health Canada approved medical dental grade printers for sale for like $3,000. So it has come down a lot in price. Back to our scanners, we have desktop scanner, which is obviously something that stays on the desk. It doesn't really move around. Intraoral scanner goes in the mouth. So I have a desktop scanner here kind of set up for you. You can see just how small it is. I can lift it up with one hand. You know, it's not very big, it's not very heavy. They don't take up a lot of room anymore. First time I ever worked with a desktop scanner, I showed up there and the scanner was like massive. Like it was huge. It was this giant red open technology, and it probably took like 27 seconds for the thing to spin around. My first experience ever with a scanner was, so you know the rule where I'm going to test the students. How long do you have to keep your models from your patients? Good job. You always all get gold stars. So 7 years. Now, who's got storage for 7 years worth of models? You do. So my first job and the first time I worked with someone is he said, okay, here are 7 boxes of models, 1 for each year, and they were giant Rubbermaid containers. And he said, okay, get scanning. That was my first experience. It took me 2 months to scan in every one of those models from 7 years. Then you can take them, toss them away. Why? Because I can print them now. So if someone comes to me in 6 years and 8 months later and says, oh, blah, 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 I need a model, sure, give me 2 minutes. I can make a model. So space, that helps you as well. Being from the East Coast, you would learn space usually isn't an issue. Most people have big clinics. A lot of clinics are homes that were converted, so they have like levels. I'm noticing in the cities, clinics are a lot smaller, so storage can sometimes be an issue, but this lab scanner will definitely take care of all that. So again, we use a scanner to scan models. You can also scan impressions. You can scan dentures. When you get real creative, you can start scanning parts and pieces in your house that you break that you need to make more of. We had a little ring that an umbrella held in for our table and it broke, so our umbrella wouldn't hang in. So I took it and crazy glued it together, and I took it here and I scanned it and I printed it and brought it home and put it in there. And that's what's holding the umbrella up at our house right now. You reduce courier fees. One-way courier, you don't have to go back and forth now because you send your file electronically rather than have a courier come get it. Preserves model integrity, another big one. You'll find out in practice, these guys can agree with me. You think like, oh shit, a tooth just fell off. I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna glue it back on. That little bit of glue makes a huge difference. That could throw a framework off, you know that. So this way, no teeth getting broken. And there's file sharing platforms available that are free, Dropbox, WeTransfer, to be able to maneuver your files back and forth. Laboratories now that are becoming a lot more digital most of the time are curating their own platform to go online. So you go online, for example, a couple that I know of, one being 3D RPD. You go online, you put in your name, your password, you upload your files into their dashboard, just like you put a picture on Facebook, same kind of thing. So then you have direct communication with the laboratory. They send you pictures back of your casting, like your proposed design. You could look at it and say, I want to move that rest. I don't want it on the 4, I want it on the 5, or I want to change the direction of something. So then all you do is you type back and forth. You say, hey man, I don't really like this. Can you move it? And they say, oh yeah, no problem. So they'll go in, they'll redesign your framework. They'll send you another picture back of the proof. And when you like it, you hit accept, and then they go ahead and print it. And then you get an email back when it's on the way. You also have all of the files that you've done and sent in this nice, neat little dashboard. Most companies like that will have a warranty. So if you call and you say, hey, I have a 10-year warranty on a casting and I just lost, reciprocating arm. Like, oh yeah, no big deal. Just go in there and they'll send you another one free with no questions asked. So that's a couple of the things that I found where digital was quite a big improvement in making things easier and faster, because everything goes so quickly now. As soon as they approve your design, they're already going ahead and working on it. So you can see the instant communication back and forth. Denturists and labs work so hand in hand together. You know, you need each other. One of the first digital denture courses that I ever had the opportunity to take was down in New York, and I went to a lab. And this was probably, I'm going to say, like maybe 5, 6 years ago. And I went to a lab and I learned how to start designing dentures and printing and things like that. And one of the things that I found is that every case that they brought in, before they scanned it, they opened the pin, and I'm like, okay. So I just kind of like kept my mouth shut and went on. And we were going around and we were designing, and they said, okay. He said, well, you don't really have enough space. What do you do here? And I'm like, well, me in practice, I would drop a 6 or drop a 7 or drop a premolar if I had to, you know. And he's like, no, we just open the bite. And I'm like, what? First of all, you already did that. Second of all, like, are you allowed to do that? Like, do you not realize that just, oh yeah, just gonna open the bite. So now before we even done anything, this guy opened a patient 4 millimeters. So when I came back from that trip, the guy I was working for, he's like, so how was your trip? And I was like, we're gonna make handheld dentures forever. That attitude and that mindset has completely changed now. So I'm glad that you're all here and you weren't experiencing what it was like about 6, 7 years ago trying to figure this stuff out. Shining 3D has made it more accessible to get the equipment into the hands of the people. So then here's the lab scanner as well. Super awesome. It's $8,700. To be honest, Central Dental puts them on sale quite a bit. So these numbers may not usually, I aim high and they're usually lower. Julian, you're out. Have a great day, my friend. It's good to see you. Take care.
Bye, Jill. Thank you. Yeah.
We also have another one. It's kind of hard to see this one. Shining also has the Auto DS Mix. The big difference between the two of them and what I like the more is the DS Mix. You can fit a full articulator in it. You can put an articulator in the Shine, the smaller one, but 9 chances out of 10, your articulator is going to fall over. So we all do the same thing where you take your bite, you put your rubber bands and everything around it. So those are the difference between the two. The bigger scanner, you could fit a full articulator in there. It's intraoral scanners. Does anyone have an intraoral scanner? Beautiful. What do you have? You have 3Shape and you have a Trios and you have a Medit. Fantastic. I've worked with both of those. The first intraoral scanner I've ever worked with was a Medit i500. And then I worked with a Trios 3 after as well. And since my job here has brought me to Central, we sell Shining 3D. They all do the same thing. People always ask what's the difference. Trios, Medit, Shining. It's like Honda, Toyota, Ford, Chevy. It just depends on what fits into your system. What I like about Shining is this fits into any system. It's a completely open software. You can use it with as a secondary piece of equipment if you already have something. So obviously we use it to scan teeth and tissue, captures the bite. Usually under 30 seconds. You got to get really good for that. My first time when I had a Medit i500, I was scanning my first upper and lower patient, And it took me an hour and 15 minutes. So clearly you wouldn't make any money that way, but you get better with practice. So now we can usually scan upper and lower arch, at least one arch in 30 seconds or less. The upper is easy, the lower is always a struggle. We're going to talk about this a little bit later because this is where I see digital making the most money, is 2-appointment immediate dentures. Someone always says, Lisa, if you ever opened up another clinic right now, would you be 100% digital? The answer to that is no, because I don't think digital can do 100% of the cases. There's always limitations. I would do a hybrid mixture of digital for some things and analog for others. I would never, ever, ever, ever make another immediate denture by hand ever again. I would never grind another tooth. I have no fingerprints left after doing it for such a long time. I would 100% digital that way. That's my opinion. I think Mark would probably agree with that. Yeah, thumbs up. Immediate dentures is where this is going to save you a lot of time and make you a lot of money. Impressions and models no longer require splints and night guards. If you have a kid, a bunch of hockey teams and stuff come in, intraoral scan, night guard printed, mouth guard, got a whole hockey team done, like 2 hours. There you go. 100%. I don't know what the rules are in Ontario for this kind of stuff, so please don't get mad at me in that sense. But there are some provinces where dental assistants are allowed to scan the patients themselves. I'm not sure what the rules are here. Like I said, don't get mad at me. But if you have an assistant who is trained and licensed and allowed to do that, you could make however many night guards, sports guards, without actually ever having to do anything. I know some hygienists, I think, as well may be allowed to do that, but again, not from here, so I don't want anyone to get mad at me if I'm wrong on that. Talk a little bit more about the aero scan. I meant to have it here. Like I said, emergencies come up and they're locked in the room, so this I'll have to do for now. I tell you what I like about this. It's relatively inexpensive at $12,999. However, like I said, these go on sale quite regularly. We also do a lot of like bundle packages if you want to go that way as well. Again, I'm a one thing at a time. This now comes in wireless as well. We'll get into that. I'll show you that one after. These tips this one comes with 2 size tips. So it actually comes with the regular tip, and then they call it a child size, but I mean, it's a little bit of a weird name for me. So I call it the mini. Most of the time I use the regular size tip. The tips are autoclavable up to 100 times, is what the manufacturer recommends. I don't know what happens after 101. I've never really had the issue. You can replace just the tips, and they're about $68 for one. Correct me if I'm wrong. The last time when I had a Medit, I had to buy a 3-pack, and I think they were quite expensive, but that might have changed now. These ones are about $60 for a tip. But most of the time I use the regular size. If I have a hard to reach area, like, I'm missing a 6 and I have to get a 7, sometimes I'll switch it out and put the micro tip on there to be able to get into harder to reach areas. I'm going to give you a trick, totally unrelated to the cost. This is just all intraoral scanners all together. Patient positioning is usually one of the biggest downfalls of why a scan takes quite a bit longer to do. Whenever I scan a lower patient, I lie them back in the chair completely supine, if not even a little bit further, to relax the tongue and get that tongue out of the way so I can get the tip of the scanner in the mouth. Most of the time, the patients are so concerned about falling on their head that they let you do what they need to do because they're not so freaked out. Have you had denture patients that are severe gaggers and won't even go near them with the tray and they put their hands up and stuff? I'm like, here, lady, there's the scanner, there's the computer, go nuts, and just let her all around by herself and they can do it themselves. So this has changed denturism in a lot of ways. Just fast. Yes, darling.
Lisa, why is it difficult to scan an totally edentulous patient? And I ask because we do courses for the prosthodontists in the US, and then they brought this guy from Italy, Lucio Lorusso, supposed to be the god.
Yep.
And I think to myself, why is it so difficult? Like to scan?
To scan edentulous, that's an awesome question, and we get it quite a bit. When you have teeth, you have a reference point. So when you're scanning any scanner at all, there's a little green square on the screen, and you follow the square, and that's the area that you're picking up. When it turns red, you're not picking it up anymore. So you return your scanner back to the place where you originally were, which is normally a tooth. So when you don't have any reference points like that, and everything is pink and gingiva, that's where the struggle comes in with edentulous scanning. The upper is a joke. It's no issue at all. It's always the lower that gives you grief. And it's the tongue, it's the cheeks, it's the floor of the mouth if you have someone with a severely resorbed ridge. And like, I don't know if your students have seen it yet, but you go out into practice and patient lifts up their tongue and the entire floor of the mouth comes up and goes over the ridge. Those patients would be hard to scan. So that's why if I'm doing that, I lie the patient back to get that tongue out of the way, to get them relaxed enough to be able to get my scanner in. But that's the main reason what I have found is teeth are easier because they're a reference point. Fully edentulous, like when the scanner stops, it needs to find where it stopped before it can start again. It's easier to find on teeth than on gingiva. Make sense? So this is shining through the wireless one. Now, I've never, ever had an issue with a cord on a scanner. I don't have the wireless one. Mine is wired, old school, cheap. I've never thought for one moment, like, I wish this thing didn't have a cord. I have to remember to plug my cell phone in overnight, as you can tell. I didn't last night, so it's plugged in right now. How am I supposed to remember to charge my batteries of my scanner for me if I can't remember to charge my cell phone? So if you're better at it than I am, it comes with 3 batteries, so you probably won't ever come to a point where all 3 of them are dead at the same time. Another thing I love about scanners, anyone here run a satellite office in their second clinic? Or anyone's family? That's pretty big on the East Coast. I think it's because we're missing a lot of denturists. Like in Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, those 3, PEI is 2 denturists. But those 3 provinces alone, there's probably like 65 to 70 denturists in all of the Maritimes. That's not a lot. So a lot of them run multiple offices. They run second clinics. This digital equipment, especially this intraoral scanner, opens up a huge world of opportunity for expansion of your clinic or your business. I know a lot of people, us as well, we went up to Northern Labrador to a couple of native communities to kind of do a little bit of service up there, like you're talking a remote area. Back then, I used to have to call Joe at Central Dental and be like, okay, I need stone, I need plaster, I need impression trays, I need this. And Joe's like, yes, that sounds wonderful, honey. How much do you need? And then we'd have to fly it and ship it all the way up to like Northern Labrador. And it would be like probably more money than what you made while you're up there because it's expensive. Now, this little thing goes over your shoulder in like a little briefcase and you dodge right on the plane like no big deal. I will tell you one thing, and Mark can attest to this. Airport security do not like both him and I because we usually have the weirdest old things in our luggage. This thing will get stopped every time, but you just tell them what it is, take it out. I think most of the time they just want to see it personally. But you'll get a few funny looks. But if you're ever interested in expanding your clinic beyond where you are, this will make it so much easier. I have a friend of mine in Nova Scotia who came here in April and took one of the digital exocad courses that we had. And her and I hung out here for a weekend with a few other people. And she went home and she's like, yeah, I want you to send me that intraoral scanner. I was like, awesome. I sent her the scanner. Yesterday, she called me and told me that she just had a meeting with a dentist. That's about an hour away from her in a pretty remote area. And she's now going to rent a chair 1 day a week from a dentist. She never used to work Fridays, so Fridays was an open day for her. So now she's going to take her intraoral scanner, drive an hour, and all she's going to do is scan patients, go back to her office, and the next week go out again. So with just one piece of equipment, she's able to open up a second location. Like that's a huge business model that we didn't really have before until we had this digital opportunity. So that's just something else that I kind of want you to think about. This one's a little more expensive at $15,999. Like I said, they usually go on sale. Contact your Central Dental rep, they'll help you out. Okay, let's do some math. And it's simple math, because like Mark, we're terrible at math. Desktop intraoral scanner, for round numbers, we're going to say about 13 grand. The average cost of a flipper in Canada is about $1,000. Will we agree with that? probably even more in Ontario. Yes, how much would you charge for a 1-tooth flipper? No one? No one? Okay, so we'll go with my number, about $1,000. You're shaking your head no. Tell me I'm wrong. No? Do you not make 1-tooth flippers? No, absolutely no one wants to pay that much. Completely agree. The only people,
How much?
about 700. The only time most people, in my opinion, pay for them like that is if they're getting an implant placement and they don't want to go around with anything. However, for round numbers, we'll just go with that one. So you take that, you divide it by 700, and 19 1-tooth flippers you have it paid for. It's not a big expense anymore. I know one of the guys I used to work for, I think the one that I got my license with, every time he would want to buy something, he'd say, oh, it's just an upper and lower. Or it's just an upper and lower. It's just an upper and lower. And I kind of heard that from him, and I was like, it gave me a way to think about like money and how you buy things and equipment and make your practice better. So I kind of modeled this after him and said, if it only costs me, if I can take an intraoral scanner and literally all I have to do is scan and poke a tooth in there and send it away, and they send me back a flipper, I don't have to do anything. This equipment is going to pay for itself with me having even to do anything. So you're going to cut down on your courier fees. You're going to lose your plaster and stone. I'm not going to say you're ever going to eliminate it altogether, because we know that that's not possible, because digital doesn't fit into every opportunity. Faster turnaround time. Time is money. You've heard that before. Like Mark said, we would love to be able to sit down and spend 3 hours toning a denture, when realistically that's not an option. So 3D printing. Do you guys? Yes.
Okay, so now, like we talked about this thing, I'm glad that you're breaking it down to show you the important business. Lisa, what is the difference between, the intraoral scanner that Dentsply has, the Prime, I think it's
Prime scan,
yeah, where it's over $100,000.
Yeah.
The serve espresso coffee, what does it do? Like, I just want to know, like, why would anybody pay that? It must have a reason that I don't know.
Well, I'm still trying to figure out the reason. No. As someone who has worked with all the intraoral scanners, the Trios 4, the Medit i500, as well as the Shining, I can truly tell you that the scanners are virtually the same, because in the end, it's producing a file. How the file gets there is irrelevant. The Prime scan that I know that you're talking about is about 50 grand. It comes down to systems as well. Open systems versus closed systems, which I have a slide in this, but it's later. But perfect. It's an excellent opportunity to talk on it now. Dentsply has a system where you have to purchase all of their equipment. It's a closed system. So you need a Prime scan, and then they want you to buy their printer, and they want you to buy their software and things like that. So in order for them to keep their workflow kind of together as a cohesive unit, they close the system down, and then they can charge whatever they want, really. Because if that's what you need to make their system run, then they can charge what they well like. With the Prime scan, I know it comes with a cart. I know it comes with a computer. I know it comes with a screen. It's a little, it's a nice setup. But truly, the difference between a Prime scan and a Shining 3D is literally just the name of buying a Toyota versus a Honda. It's really not like it's a product. It's like buying a digital camera. You buy a Canon, you buy a Nikon. It's just different brand names, really. So why someone would choose to pay that enormous amount of money, unless I had the full Dentsply system, then I would buy it. But if I was looking to purchase just one piece of equipment for $50,000, which is the price of one scanner, you can buy an intraoral scanner, a desktop scanner, you can buy a printer, you can buy a curing unit, you can buy a wash, you could buy everything that I could possibly have to sell you for less than the price of one Dentsply Prime scanner. In the different defense of that as well, I have a ton of friends that are using Prime scans, and they say they're absolutely incredible, and I have no doubt about it. They are amazing. One of my friends just Prime scan everything, and it is a remarkable piece of equipment. But so is the Shining scanner, so is the Medit. So you basically have to come down and find out what system are you going to use. Are you going to use a closed system where you have to do everything by the rule, where you have to purchase all of the equipment, you have to purchase all the materials from one specific supplier? Or do you want an open system where I can purchase this from here and I can call Mark for this, and Henry Schein has this on sale, so I can go over there and pick that up. So that's basically a difference between open and close and why one would choose one over the other. Cool, does that answer your question? Yes, okay. Do we know what printing is, our students here? Like, do you understand the basis of a light cure, like how it works? The thing goes down, makes a light, goes back up, makes a layer. Do we get that? Yeah, okay. So it's a process of manufacturing three-dimensional solid objects from a digital file. It's an additive process. So it starts out of nothing and creates something. The mill that we'll talk about later, same kind of process. Starts out with a puck where you remove it and then you end up with a denture. It's a removable process. Allows complex shapes to be recreated with the least amount of wastage material. We had a question earlier, where she's back there. You talked about recycling the puck and how much is left over. Printing is way less waste. It's less materials waste, less to use. The materials are cheaper to purchase. The pucks that are left over, that's one of the issues that I've always brought up several times. Is, to my knowledge yet, there is no actual recycling program to try and recycle the parts that you've already used. My advice is you start to kind of learn how to keep the leftover pucks, the material that you have, and then if you need to mill something really small, you have a piece left over to use it, because I've done that a few times. But that's one of the things that I keep pushing for, is some sort of recycling program of how to recycle half of this puck that's basically unusable now. But we'll get into that a little bit later as well. So what things can you print in your office? You print models, you print trays, you print night guards, you print try-ins, and you print finished dentures. All of these things, each of these processes, like Mark was talking about earlier, requires some sort of software. So a model software is like a model creator or model builder. So they are all extra modules that are kind of added on into your software. I know there was a question about that earlier today. Oh, this is the coolest printer ever. We had one there, but someone came in and bought it and sold it the other day. This is a Shining AccuFab. It's under $4 grand. Might even be a little bit cheaper now. Everyone knows Mark. Mark sells Asiga printers. I've worked with Asiga. They're fantastic printers. This build plate is a little bit bigger than an Asiga printer. So I kind of enjoy it because you can get more material on there. Takes a little bit longer, not gonna lie, because the build plate is bigger, but you can do more. I can fit probably about 6 of my demo models on a Nextent. I can fit probably 9 on the AccuFab. Oh, see, I told you he was listening to me. Tell him about the AccuFab. A little slower. Right there. Yeah. I have it right here. I haven't even had a chance to use it yet. But it's an automated system. You can come over and have a look at it if you want. It's automated, I don't want to. It's an automated system for washing, so you don't have to touch the materials of the alcohol or the live resin. It does it for you. You've all heard the Prime Print and seen the funny infomercials and everything for it. Same kind of thing. The washing machine, it's all electronic. So right now, you're gonna kill me if I tell you this, but when I'm washing them, I have a beaker of alcohol, one that says dirty and one that says clean. And I take them out from one and the other and put them in, and then I cure them. But now that this AccuFab is here that blends perfectly with this, as well as the Shining scanner, so far now you can buy and purchase all of it together for less than a price of Prime Scan, a quarter of it. We also have the Accurata Soul, which in my opinion is the same size completely as the Asiga that Mark sells at Swiss. It's the white printer over there. You can see it with the note on it. It's used very regularly. We use that here all the time. I can print 2 denture bases on that in like an hour and a half. I can print 2 rows of teeth on that in about 45 minutes. Nothing will compare to the Nextent for time. It's more expensive. Nextent 5100 is about 15, 16 grand. These are the 2 orange ones here. I went to a couple conferences and there was a couple gentlemen from New Zealand. And he called this a workhorse. And when he said that word, I laughed, but it's true. So I have 2 of them. So being from Newfoundland, I don't get the opportunity to come to the office very often. But like Mark, I do a ton of courses and do a ton of demos where we need like those demo units that he was stating. In a day and a half on those 2 machines, I printed 150 models at 6 on a build plate at a time because they take 20 minutes. So every 20 minutes, I'm getting 12 models come out of 2 machines. Normally, when we're making models for our demo courses like that, that probably would have taken like a week. And we're doing so many demo courses that I needed to get faster because I just don't have the time to sit there to build all of these. But the Nextent allows me to do all of that in a quarter of a time. So yeah, I made 100-ish models in a day and a half yesterday. So that one's a workhorse. This one is always the, oh yes. Oh, that's a great question as well. Yeah, so it comes down to get open and close kind of thing. So all the ones that we sell here, for the most, aside from the Nextent, are fairly open. The Nextent requires its own material. All of the Nextent materials that we have are all Health Canada approved. The one thing I like about this, it has a barcode. So when I fill up my material, my resin tanks with resin, I have to scan the bottle of the material that I've used underneath here, and it can't be expired. So you can't cheat and things like that. So that's what I like about that one. The resins that are—
So if it's expired, the machine doesn't work.
The machine will not accept it. So all of this stuff in here, all of that is all expired resin. I can't use it in these 2, which is one company that sells it because it's expired. You can use it for those. Because this one and the Shattuck Acticat, they don't have any sort of scanner to allow you to scan the bottle. The Nextent does it as a protection method as well, just to make sure that you know that you have everything right. If you've selected that you're doing a denture base, well, now it's saying, okay, well, prove it. Show me the bottle to make sure that you're trying to do a denture base, that you didn't select denture base by accident and have like crown break material in there. So this scanner gives you a safeguard for that. As for all the materials that are Health Canada approved, I don't have an actual list. If Mark is here, he probably does because he's like a giant wealth of nerdy knowledge like that. We'll have touch base with him on that because Asiga has a ton of resins that are for finals, which is what other question that you asked. I'm gonna totally give Mark a big shout out here, but the Lucitone digital print, only valid for an Asiga printer or a carbon printer. So the print, if you're talking about Lucitone, I hear you, buddy. So the Asiga is the only one, as well as carbon, that will allow you to print Lucitone digital print, which I would consider a final denture. I've heard some problems with it as well, but you have to completely follow the system. But then whenever someone's like, oh, Lisa, why isn't this working? I'm like, oh, we'll just call Mark. He'll figure it out. And this goes back to a Tori where he's like, I don't understand why you guys are so much good friends. You guys are competitors. Yeah, he sells the equipment. I sell the material. He doesn't sell the material. I don't sell his printer. So even though we work for different companies, we are always friendly that way.
Going back to his question.
Yeah.
What resins are
Can you—
what are not? Do you remember once you came to my office and we had that manual from the German where they have all the bloody stinking resins worldwide?
Yes.
Do you think it's time that maybe we do one for Canada?
It's not participating every day. And you have to update it every month. Well,
No, we'll do it every 6 months, but you know, in Germany, they're still doing it every 6 months. So it's like a Bible, like
Yeah.
it's a reference material for printers, milling machines, and I know Mark, they keep on changing, but these guys in 6 months, you get it again, and they'll tell you what's approved, what's not approved, what existed.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm just asking, I'm picking your brain.
Just saying, you can vote with it, but I'm not gonna,
That would be a lot of fun.
Guys, when you see the magazine, the book, you gotta say, how did Mark get into that? Okay, go ahead.
Any other questions so far in that? Yeah.
These print final, that's like real question.
Yeah, they'll print finals. They won't print the Lucitone ones. We use Nextent material for those ones. We'll print finals in them. It's Health Canada approved, yes. Is there any other materials, Mark, that you guys have that are final? Yeah. Most people, to be honest, right now are printing, if they're printing finals, they're printing Lucitone 199 or Lucitone digital print, sorry. Ooh, we'll see on that one. Printing, in my total opinion, I think Mark would agree with me. I would do printing as temporary measures.
I have a question.
Yes.
Mark, because the market in Canada is really controlled by Lucitone, and a few other resin companies. But we also know that Volco sells resin, right? They approve. E&G has resin.
Some of them are, as a dental based material, I tried. I don't feel like it's strong enough to be final.
Okay.
Yeah.
My kind of material is okay.
Yeah.
But, they're focused on a million products. They're printed bases.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Lisa.
It's the thing with the next dent base too. I find the color isn't very nice.
And which one?
The next dent resin, the next dent base resin. I'm printing a lot of them. I told you I printed 150 of them yesterday. The color I find is it's very fake looking. Lucitone print ones are absolutely incredible. I do a lot of temporaries, all my immediates and stuff like that. Just something that I'm probably going to toss away. Yeah. Favorite material for temps is Next Dent 3D denture base, and I use it in a light or a translucent shade. Mark, what's yours? Also awesome photo dent. We sell those as well. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you, to be honest, like I talked about earlier, all the expired material is all the material that I use to like make all of the fun stuff with that's not going in anyone's mouth. So that's the best part about having a job like myself and Mark is like we have boxes of all this expired printer material that won't work in an Nextdent, but it'll work in an AccuFab or a solar printer. Yeah. I have no idea. I truly have no idea.
I like the way you think.
Yes, I know. I was wondering if someone was going to call me out on that. I was like, I may or may not have done that yesterday. Let me tell you. But no, you can't. Just like you can't peel the barcodes off these Seeger resin pigs and put them on the other ones, right? Yeah, you can't do that. Yes. Next lecture, we won't record it. We'll tell you all the tricks and all the bad stuff. You got 3Shape. I've seen a couple hands up. You guys are using 3Shape. We are an ExoCAD reseller. Again, I've worked with 3Shape. I've worked with ExoCAD. I've worked with InLab. I've been trained with all of the big guys and girls in all of this business. So I feel like I've used all of them and can navigate around most of them pretty well. They're all basically the same. It's a 3D software. You're going to get a denture if you know what you're doing. You're going to get a denture on ExoCAD. You're going to get a denture on 3Shape. I personally have never successfully gotten a denture on InLab, but I know people who have. Again, it's a Ford Chevy. It's what you're looking for. ExoCAD is totally open. So I can get ExoCAD. I can put any sort of equipment that I want. I can open up my files. I did a training course in Edmonton with a girl a couple weeks ago, and she's got InLab. And she had a question about a case. So she called her reseller, and he was like doing remote training with her. And she's like, how do I do this? And he said, well, I'll tell you what I do. I take it from InLab and I put it into ExoCAD and I do what I need to do. And then I take it and put it back into InLab. And she just stared at him. And she's like, really? She's like, well, what else do you do? And he's like, no, that's it. So in my head, I'm thinking, well, thank you for that. Because why the heck would you go ahead with InLab now when you could go ahead and have ExoCAD and you don't need that? But anyway, it made me laugh. I thought that was a great story. I also love 3Shape. Very successfully. I'm glad my boss isn't here to hear me say that right now. A 3Shape is a fantastic denture program. What I like about it is they have amazing pictures and amazing icons, and the icon makes sense for the most part of what you do. And the workflow is across the top of the screen, and it lets you know what workflow you've done. It lets you know what step you're on. If you need to go back, it's easy to get back. It's like walk in the park. Like it's very elementary, which is wonderful. I love ExoCAD for the same reason as Sometimes it's not linear. Sometimes you need to go back. Sometimes you need to go back twice. Sometimes you need to add something else at the very beginning. exocad has a wizard that will allow you to do like 3Shape does and follow the steps and next and make sure that you don't run into any issues. But for the most part, it's also very open. It lets you cheat or do things that you want to do, but won't be allowed to do in other softwares. This is my first ever designed exocad case that I did like 3 years ago. It makes me happy when I see it. Again, all-in-one software that gives dentures full control over the intended workflow. It has a wizard, and it has export mode that helps you with cases like implant planning and placement guides. Very important in this type of situation. This is the slide that I was talking about before, open or closed system. Do you know the difference? I feel like you do now. Yes. Are we losing anybody? We got one nod. Cool. Saturday, you guys are still here. I'm impressed. So things to look for. This is very important. Is training provided? One of a friend of mine who works with a different company sold someone in Alberta a dream, I think. He sold him a dream. Dependent on another person from another company to come and provide training on this piece of equipment, a very expensive piece of equipment. And he was like, yeah, man, training is provided. No problem. Don't worry about it. So now this gentleman has quite a substantial amount of money invested in it, only to find out that the training that was provided is like a PDF document of like a brochure. So if you're purchasing pieces of equipment like this, do your research. Call Mark, call me, call anyone at all like that. If I buy this from you, what am I getting in return? Mark does support, he does service, he does all that stuff, supply. You need to have a go-to. Like I told you in the beginning, you can't just purchase all this stuff, drop it off into your office, and then expect it to be printing dentures in 2 hours. It doesn't work that way. How many frantic phone calls have you gotten this week, Mark? Well, you got one from me, but that doesn't count. Support after training. And is there a cost associated with us? With us. I love how I say with us. We don't personally here at Central, I don't charge for my time. Someone has a question, call me like a normal human being and we'll help you. The only time that like we ever cost associated with it is like if we're throwing off like a very intense hands-on course where there's like 4 people and 1 instructor. But for the most part, your support, you know, peer support, online groups, that's huge. He was talking about Instagram there. There's incredible Facebook groups that Mark and I are both part of. They show the good cases, the bad cases, they show the ugly cases. You have so many people there to support you that have the same equipment that this is. If we don't know the answer, or if you don't know the answer, I bet you people on the internet do, or they know a workaround for it. Upfront cost versus annual cost. It's a big one too. People say, okay, I just dropped like 10 grand on all this software and all this equipment, and then like 12 months later, we're like sending them a bill. And they're like, what is this bill for? Well, do you want to use it next year or not? Here's your bill. All of these things are surprises that could come up to you without even knowing the possibility that they're there. And compatibility with your lab that you work with. If I'm working with a lab and that lab uses only 3Shape and I'm exocad, you're still going to be able to work together, but it's kind of nice to have both sometimes being the same. So you can easily open them up. But I've yet to this day have had an issue where I send someone an exocad file and they tell me that I can't open it in 3Shape. As long as it's an STL file, I had a conversation with the gentleman with the back earlier. It's like the same thing as a file, like a PDF file on a computer. You can open it as long as your software opens STL files and as long as your software outputs an STL file, we can share in-lab 3Shape exocad all together. So I did a quick cost breakdown for exocad. This was probably about 6 months ago, so nobody shoot me because this could possibility have changed quite a bit. So your initial setup for exocad is about $1,000. That's not bad. You add your full denture module, your bite splint, your model creator. If I was starting up a denture clinic, and these people always say, what do I need for exocad? Like, what is it? Like, how much does everything cost? If I was a denture clinic opening up right now, that's everything. That's your annual fees. That's your initial cost. You don't need all of this, but as a dentures and our practice, for the most part, this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing bite splints. Virtual articulator, I would never make a denture without it. I would have that module 1000%. Just like, Mark said, you guys all want to take your little pin and open it up. This allows you to do that, just like it would. You do your movements, protrusive, lateral. So yeah, take a picture of that. But don't quote me down to the dollar. Like I said, it could change. Basic math for dentures only. So your standalone denture module, that's absolutely nothing else. $22.60 and $1,300 a year. So $1,300 a year, you can make digital dentures, your software. That's it. We had another conversation. A friend of mine wanted to add another three-shape seat. It was 10 grand. What are the yearly fees?
Actually, they don't have them if you actually talk to your rep, but most of the reps want to make their commission back, so they will make them buy it. Appreciate that, you can buy it up as well. But you can buy it up front.
Fair enough. See, something I didn't know. They try to keep that stuff secret.
It's just because the salespeople need to get their commission back. They force you to buy the last package.
Yeah.
Package, but you can tell them I don't want it. Because most of us call it colleagues anyway.
Yes.
So it's around, I think it's around 40,000.
Okay, that's not terrible. See why him and I make the world's worst salespeople? I always say to mill or not to mill. That's the question. As far as I'm concerned, a milled denture base is probably the premium product, the way to go. I've tried it. I've tested it. I love them. This is a new mill that we have here called the VHF E5. This is a mill that makes it totally possible for denturists to get into the milling practice. Before, even sometimes now, PM7 from Ivor Clark and Run You. It's funny because I heard two people had this argument. They both had different quotes for the same machine from different suppliers, and they were comparing them at a conference. One quote was for 97,000. The other guy, why is mine for 103,000? And the two of them were comparing quotes. This one's 35, and it doesn't need a compressor. As far as I know, yes.
Can't do it.
You can't do it. It's a dry only, right? So that's why I think this is a denture's dream. I wouldn't do metal in it. I wouldn't do metal in it. Metal, no water, fire. Yeah, zirconia is okay. Yeah, I haven't done that part yet. Mark's got a technical background. I don't like to say I'm only a denturist, but he's got a technical background. When it comes to other stuff like that, it kind of goes a little bit. That's where I would love to be able to go and do the technician. It would give me a lot more of a rounded scope. But yeah, it's a 5-axis drive mill, 17 tools and 6 blocks. Compact design, 43 kilograms. Me and one other person can lift this. When I was working at a denture clinic in Alberta and we got a brand new rolling mill, this was a great day. We were so pumped. We knew the mill was coming. We were all excited. We were all like waiting out the front door. Next thing you know, the big old truck shows up, buddy lowers it down and says, have a nice day. And we are like, okay. So it is literally in the middle of a parking lot in Alberta. And we are like, okay, what happens now? So we pick up the phone and he calls a moving company. And to my surprise, here show up 4 of the most beautiful men I've ever seen in my life. And it took 4 of them with straps to pick up this mill and move it down the stairs. So if you have, 4 big strapped, good looking men, that's not actually that bad. But for denture clinics and denturists like us, a small machine that doesn't take up as much space, you can come up and see this after. I'll even turn it on for you. It doesn't take up space. It doesn't emit much noise, and it's not heavy. This one comes with its own CAM software, and you don't have to pay extra for it. The first VHF mill that I had here, when I was working at a clinic in Saskatchewan, it was literally half in German, the software. So you had no idea what the icons meant, what you were supposed to be doing. You're trying to Google what like fleet and flot means, and you're trying to figure out. And the most important part, no compressor needed. That's huge. A compressor to run a PM7 can run you probably like $20,000. There you go. We also know people that tried to use cheap compressors with mills and have flooded their offices. Outsource or own. This is also a good one, especially for you new guys and students. The average lab bill for a set of complete upper and lower mill dentures is about $800. That's actually a bit low, to be honest. Most of them are a bit higher than that. Or you can own this machine for $765 a year on a 5-year lease. So if you want to compare that, Maybe you don't want to own this. That's fine too. Your lab can do that for you, but you're going to get really high bills. Or you can buy this for yourself, have it paid for in 5 years. Or you can purchase it outright for about $35,000, which isn't that bad considering how you don't need a compressor. You know, PM7, like I said, anywhere between 97 and 103,000. Big difference. You can buy 4 of those. Oh, this is new. I just put this in here today. Has anyone ever seen a face scanner? We now have one called a MediSmile by Shining 3D. It's absolutely incredible. I've had the opportunity. I've played with it a little bit. Got here a couple months ago. We sold 4 of them already. So every time a new one comes in, I think I get my hands on it and they go right back out the door again. This is probably the coolest and most fun piece of dental equipment I've ever seen in my life. Quick and easy setup. It's literally this big. Comes in the same kind of little case as the intraoral scanner does. I wish I have it, but I can't get into it. It's in a locked room. If circumstances were different, I had all intentions of having it here set up so we could come try it out, make some funny faces. 10 seconds. This first one I had it, when first when I was setting it up, I was going like this and trying to move my face all around. You don't need to do that. It's like 10 seconds. It wants you to go this way, and that's it. And it captures your entire face, your earrings, your hair, everything in the world. It's pretty remarkable. Very accurate. You can just put it on a table and have it as a fixed position, or you can hold it in your hand. I've learned I'm too shaky. Probably my undiagnosed ADHD. The software, again, free. You don't have to pay extra for the software. Shining 3D is no extra software charge, and they don't charge you yearly for updates. So that's very important to keep in mind. It now allows you to do immediate try-ins. So with the Shining scanner and with the MediSmile, you scan the patient's face, you scan their mouth and their teeth. You take the teeth, you take the face scan, you merge them together. You do a setup, you take the setup, you merge it together with the face scan. So a good buddy of ours in BC, all of her immediate dentures, she face scans, she used to, and she would do her mock-up and take the picture, text it to the patient, and be like, here you go, this is your face, this is what the proposed setup looks like. They text her back and be like, yeah, good to go. So now you've just done a try-in for an immediate that we didn't really think that we could do before. So that's pretty cool. It's like $8,000. It's not even a remarkable cost. Like the face scanner that they had at. Oh, that was funny. Mark scanned me was that a prototype? Oh, that was awesome. Yeah, we were sat at the Spectrum Days Halifax. Mark and I were there, and he's like, oh, I need a favor. And I'm like, what? He's like, can I scan your face? And I'm like, great, just what every woman wants. Yeah.
So, are you kind of reaching the end of New York?
Yes. Do you want?
Yeah, I've been off there.
Okay. That's okay.
So, I'm dangerous.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of guys like me. I get to work at 7 in the morning, right? I leave 5, 6 o'clock. So this is Monday to Friday.
That's right.
So we've been full analog.
Yeah.
I do have to train technicians.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
The transition, I'm really committed to doing.
Yeah.
But the introduction and the learning curve into this, that changeover or incorporating that, I've kind of done a little bit of math.
Yeah.
Where the biggest cost is for me is not in the
time that you take to learn. Yeah.
And do you have any, is there kind of a flow that, yes, because right now,
I know.
And I don't even think I have to.
Yeah.
Because we're solid in the lab.
Yeah.
Introduction. Right?
Yeah.
So how do we
fit this in? He's got to take that. That's.
I have a great experience.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. Totally out. But let's put it this way. I have given him some forward tasks that we are going to be doing, and we've been kind of touching on stuff, but there's never a time where you're like, all right.
You won't.
We have 3 hours at the end of the day, every day. No. No.
You have, you got to make the time. Yeah. Can I, also one thing I want to suggest is we had this conversation, I think it was myself and Bahar yesterday while we were here setting this up, and it's like, it's easy for a denturist like me or you to go to a course here or go to a course in Toronto or go to a course in Vancouver and take a digital course and buy a piece of equipment and show up back at your office and drop it off and say, okay, well, we're going to start using this now. Training the entire staff is huge. One of the clinics that I worked for, when we did a full digital integration, we hired a guy from BC who came and shut the whole office down for 3 days, which is expensive, I know. And he trained all of us. So we all learned from the same guy. We all learn the same steps. I know it seems like it's absolutely completely impossible, but I always suggest buying one piece of equipment at a time. Instead of buying everything all at once, it's easier to get one.
You know, frustration.
Absolutely.
I actually like that.
Yeah.
I do have to stand as well.
Yeah.
Stop it all, if I mess around with it, I have time.
Yeah.
But there's just that point from.
Yep.
But, you know, when there's somebody calling, and then.
It's a time investment, but you need to invest. If you're going to invest the money in this equipment, which you've already done, then you need to invest the time in yourself to learn it. Or you're going to have to hire someone like Mark Chan who knows what he's doing to be able to run it for you. But that question comes up all the time, and I get it, and I understand exactly what you're feeling. It's the first place that I ever went to. Like I said, the guy had all the equipment. He said, I don't even have time to open the friggin' box. How am I supposed to get time to learn it? Yeah. Oh, I know. Okay.
I think when I started looking in that from the are you finished?
I will be super quick.
Okay.
How can digital save you time and money on the least amount of interruption? Frameworks, simple, easy money, custom trays. I'm a little impaired on that one because I can whip out a custom tray in about 2 minutes. Mouthguard splints, 100%. That's easy peasy. Flippers, easy. 1-tooth flipper, 2, 3-tooth flipper, print it all in white. If it's only a temp, grab some coloring, put it on there. Yeah.
Can you just walk through the flipper how you do it, like the
Oh yeah, intraoral scan, open up exocad, find a tooth that fits or scale one and make it fit. Add a little bit of gingiva on it, go on there, print all in white, print all in one color, make it one color. Then I take a little bit of the stain that Mark had or the composite stain or whatever, add a little bit of color to the front part around the flipper, send them out the door. Yeah, next dent, CBF, yeah, absolutely. Photo dent, anything like that. No, because it's only temporary. So I mean, 6 months I've had them in there before. All of my temporaries I would do with the printer and next dent. Absolutely. I haven't. Sometimes you get one that breaks when they fall. They break. You know that. People say, oh, you can run it over with a car. No, you can't. Temporary dentures is the best part about this. Digital record storage, face scans, immediate dentures. Quickly talk about my favorite part of this is the 2-appointment immediate denture. You get an intraoral scanner and you need nothing else. As long as the patient has one contact in their mouth, you scan upper, you scan lower, you pick a shade, you talk about aesthetics, you send it back to the lab, and they send you about a week later this beautiful little bag of dentures. Then the patient goes, has their teeth out, dentures are ready. They wear these for 6 months or 12 months, whatever your opinions are on that. And I charge the same price as I would charge for a rebase in 6 to 12 months after. So the patient is paying the same amount of money, but they get 2 sets of dentures. I hate doing rebases. I hate them. I can't stand them. You always get the line, and you, especially on immediate, you have to grind the necks off. The gum shrinks. You look in there, it's like, oh, it doesn't look very good. I'd rather do the immediates and printed. If they break, reprint. If anything happens to them, reprint. They flush them down the toilet, reprint. Easy peasy, easy money. That's the best part about this all. I said, like, I charge the same. And I do know that tissue conditioners do fit to certain materials in printed denture bases. There are a couple out there. To wrap it up, where to start? Scanner first. Then software, in my opinion. You can't, like we talked about this earlier, you can't buy a printer without a software. You can't just go say, I'm going to scan something and I'm going to print it. Yeah, but you need your software to design it. Like a scanner, software, printer, mill, face scanner. You don't always need a mill. You can put the face scanner in there as well, just because it's super fun. Yeah.
Yeah, there are some staff rotations on the clock.
Oh, that's true.
There's an app.
Is the a regular camera? You just be, yeah.
No.
Yeah. All right, I'm done. I know, I'm good. I'm sorry. Thank you. And look, all any questions, let me know.
Well, we're running late. I want to make a comment, and I do have one question.
Okay.